There's a city named Istanbul, right in the middle of the world. Founded on 2 continents, it's where Asia meets Europe. The cool waters of the Black Sea and the Mediterranean have merged here. They have crowned it with a golden horn as well. It was home to its first settlement 300,000 years ago and witnessed its first urbanization 3,000 years ago. Today, Istanbul, where skyscrapers and magnificent historic buildings sit side by side, is both the oldest and one of the most populated cities in the world. Being home to over 15 million permanent residents as well as the visitors, she has this never-ending energy and dynamism. Even though this megacity continues to grow population-wise, mankind is not its only resident. This is Büyükçekmece. With its historic bridge, built in 1566 by Sinan, the genius architect of the Ottoman Empire, and with the small island right next to the bridge, it's a very special part of the city. Another thing that makes this place special is the visitors it hosts on its tiny island during a certain time of the year. This tiny island, right next to Istanbul, embraces wildlife, despite the surrounding highways and the constant urbanization around it. These terns, which are also known as sterna, spend the winter in the coastal regions of Africa, the Eastern Mediterranean and Persian Gulf, and migrate north with the start of spring. And their arrival at their destination in Büyükçekmece falls at the end of March, beginning of April every year. Their journey lasts for days, and they travel thousands of kilometers, at the end of which they must be extremely exhausted. They need to both rest and fulfill their hunger and strive to get the best location to settle among all the other terns. Once they reach their desired spot, a new excitement starts. Now it's time to pick up her partner. The first thing that a male tern does to pick up a female tern is to catch and offer fish. This is the most important part of the courting process between the male and female tern, because for the female, a male that can feed his partner means a male that can feed her babies as well. Offering fish mostly works well, though it may end up in disappointment sometimes. The tern colony has long preferred to live right next to this bridge, built by Sinan the architect for the Zigetvar expedition of Suleiman the Magnificent. Even though it is not clearly known how the island first emerged, the prevailing opinion is that Sinan the architect used scrap stone from the bridge construction to create a living space for the birds. And that makes quite a lot of sense, because Sinan had already shown his concern for birds with the birds' nests he placed on the bridge. "90% of terns return to areas they previously used as homes, and in these areas they lay 2 to 4 eggs per year. The spawning period usually starts by the beginning of May and may extend to as late as June for female terns that spawn for the first time. These eggs have camouflaging colors and are thus hard to notice from afar, and the incubation period for the eggs is around 3 weeks. During this period, the parents protect the eggs in rotation, with each parent being highly aware of his or her responsibility. The parents are impatiently waiting for the eggs to crack and for their babies to come out. Now it's the end of the period of great anticipation. The first egg cracks 3 weeks later, allowing the baby tern to meet up with its family. The sibling of the first baby on the island is still in the egg. Looks like he's happy to be there. The feeding of the newborn tern is the most important duty of the parents. For this purpose, the parents may have to leave the baby alone, even though for a short period of time. But it's easy for them to be forgiven. The newly caught fish is a great gift for the baby tern. This will be his first feast. With the arrival of its resident terns, the tiny island becomes a gathering spot for bird photographers as well. Birds, which make up one of the most vibrant and diverse branches of the Tree of Life, is also the apple of the eye for photographers who have devoted their lives to this. Observing and recording birds in their natural habitats and witnessing their communication with their babies is an exciting experience. And the first rule to enjoy this experience is not disturbing the birds. The parents, who have an enormous workload, are saying goodbye to another exhausting day. But life on the island is much more serene compared to that in the city, and time is not something to be managed, but rather a natural part of life. The new day starts with the bluish early light of morning. The parents have already woken up, but for the babies, sleeping is so sweet. The temperature rises as the sun rises as well, but nothing compares to the warmth that the mother provides for her baby. Underneath mother's wings is the best and safest shelter. The island gets more and more crowded. In only a few days, other babies of the colony as well get to know life outside the eggshell. But now it's time for breakfast. For terns, almost all meals are the same. Every fresh-caught fish that can be swallowed at once means a yummy meal for them, and the babies are waiting for their parents to bring that meal to them. Parent terns are in constant search of fish to feed their babies. Aside from feeding, feather care is very important as well. Babies can now swallow bigger fish much more easily. It's another lucky day for the babies. Once the tummies are filled, it's time for the other errands of the day. Feather care is one of the most important routines that the babies need to learn. And the parents, while they act as a living umbrella for their babies, at the same time they feed each other. They say it takes a slice of bread to ease your hunger, and in terms of terns, it's a few fish. The babies are growing up fast, and they no longer fit under the wing. But no matter how much they grow, they're still babies and need the shelter of their parents. Terns, the tiny guests of the tiny island, calmly continue their survival and raise generations despite all the hustle-bustle going on around them throughout the day. For baby terns, it's still too early to fly, but this is the only way to build their tiny wings up, so they relentlessly experiment with flying. And regular and sufficient feeding will turn them into strong terns until migration time. In order to complete the long journey ahead of them, they need to both learn to fly and get stronger. Almost all the eggs have hatched. Baby terns are embracing life one after the other. It's the most enchanting time of the year on the island. It's all alive and well. The babies are the same color as the island, just like the eggs they hatched from. Thus, they're hard to notice from afar. Maybe this is their biggest advantage against any unknown danger that may come during this time when they're at their most vulnerable. As the baby terns grow up and get stronger, their feathers change slowly as well, but they still need some more time before they look like their parents. One of the biggest problems for the babies is their test with the sun. Baby terns, which have lived in their parents' shadow while hatching, are reluctant to get used to the sun. This is not easy, but they need to get used to it. Even though the baby tern population on the island increases in the days after hatching, some eggs are still silent, and some yield no babies after cracking. And this is nothing new for the terns, because it's natural for 10 eggs out of 100 not to yield any babies. Faced with the sun, the baby terns both try to achieve a heat balance and expect support from their parents. And because of this, they try to be heard by their parents. And the fish, which is their only food, continue to grow bigger, just like them. They're much harder to swallow now. Thus, it takes much longer to send down to the stomach. Even though life on the island looks calm and safe, there may be unexpected threats for the baby terns and eggs. Some mammals and seagulls seem to serve as a threat to them sometimes. And the adult terns usually act together to defend their babies and overcome the threat. In other words, nothing can stop the power of joining forces, unless that thing is a human being. Man's ignorance of all other living beings has affected terns on this island as well. Although this island was full of eggs up until a few years ago, all adult terns had to leave the island and their eggs because of fireworks in the area, and no spawning and hatching took place here for 2 years in a row. This year, the terns returned home, and for that unfortunate thing not to happen again, man should realize he is not the only inhabitant of this world. An area selected as a settlement by tern colonies should be far from the threat of predators, offer sufficient food, and facilitate easy visual and voice communication among terns. And the special feature of this tiny island is that it offers all of these features. In this special place, terns don't perceive as a threat either the visitors that constantly observe and record them, or the locals passing by without caring about their activities. The baby terns, which have had a peaceful year up until now, are busy with their wing-stretching workout. Not all the baby terns on the island are of the same size. Late hatchers are usually smaller. There are even eggs still expected to hatch soon, and the thriving youngsters are still waiting for fish. It will take a long time to get ready for the migration. And some youngsters are really into the idea of leaving the island right away. However, they can't fly yet, so they can't go too far. Even though the parents persuade this youngster to return to the island, the moss makes things a little difficult for the young tern. Thank goodness he manages to get back on the island without any problem. The saying, "As they grow, so do their problems," applies to all living creatures. The parents and baby terns recognize each other from their voices. This allows a parent to feed his or her baby constantly in rotation. And the bird photographers that never leave them alone throughout the season keep observing these most intimate moments with patience to capture the most charming pictures. Life is tougher now for the parents. The babies are waiting for food and need to be fed well. Parent terns fulfill this responsibility by working in rotation. It's hard to satisfy the newborn terns. As the youngsters get ready for life, the baby terns continue to be groomed. All the babies need to be able to stand on their own feet by September. Terns may form big colonies of 250 couples or smaller ones comprising 30 to 40 couples like the one on the island. The main item on the terns' agenda when they mostly feel secure is being able to raise their babies until their journey for the winter. This baby tern now looks almost the same as his parents, but he is not yet ready to fly, and the younger ones are waiting for their flight feathers to grow. Most of the people passing over the bridge are completely unaware of what's going on the island. not noticing this tern colony, which has reached this tiny island in Istanbul after flying hundreds of kilometers over deserts and seas south of Turkey. They pass by them every day. Only those looking carefully notice these changes. Getting more and more detached from nature due to the rush and hassle of daily life, man is no longer aware of the beauty right beside him. The baby terns learn flying skills in as little as 3 to 4 weeks. You can see some of them have started to leave the island and the surrounding land. However, they still need to be fed by their parents. Catching fish is harder than flying. This youngster is waiting for his parents right next to the island. Some of them are not that brave yet. The way the parents show him the fish in her mouth, but refrain from giving it right away, is an important part of getting ready for life. The young tern slowly learns that the days his parents brought him food are now history. If he wants to survive, he needs to hunt for his own food. As the days go by, some youngsters continue to fly away from the island and, without leaving the colony, move more independently in a much broader area. In order to motivate them to hunt on their own, the parents now refrain from giving fish to the youngsters who have now matured enough. They must develop their own hunting skills. The days go by and the migration season is getting closer. The position of the sun and time between sunset and sunrise are all indications of that. The terns follow all these changes closely. The youngsters that leave the island continue their lives in the surrounding area and observe their parents carefully. Adult terns teach the youngsters how to hunt. At the same time, feathers continue to be cleaned and groomed regularly. The crows, which accompany the terns here for months, do not emigrate like their neighbors, but rather continue their lives in their nests on the bridge. All the baby terns are now adults, and the eggs that never hatched become souvenirs for the island. Newly grown up terns continue to leave the island. Almost everyone is ready for migration, but some are still expecting fish from their mums. But now they have to hunt on their own. If he manages to feed himself well and continue to live a healthy life, he may well come back to the island and raise his own babies. As they migrate south, regardless of age, every member of the colony has to hunt on his own. Young adults will be guided by what they have learned from their parents. They're gathering for migration now. They're aware that it's now time to leave. And it seems as though this tern wants to stare at the island one last time. Even though this is a routine for them, it's always hard to say goodbye. Accompanied by new young members that have joined the migration caravan, the terns have now embarked on a long migration journey. The island will be silently waiting for them until next spring, when the island will be alive with their joyous and agitated screams. And the good old days are now being memorialized in these photo frames. Hope to see you all next year.